Hi guys, and welcome to the A Creative channel, where we like to invest our time in creating cool things. This is a part 2 from the previous video, just taking it from Sculpt. Now I'm taking it out of Zbrush and getting it ready for 3D print. So stick with us and I will see you on the other side. So practically I've finished sculpting where we left off in the last video, and he's not ready for 3D print. So there's a few things that I need to do. The aspect of what needs to be done now is getting the mesh ready and making sure that it is manifold. There is no holes. There is no triangulation that's in, hitting each other, and that the walls are not too thin. So mind you, I have to say that the glasses after it came out in the print, and I will show you the print at the end of this, were a bit thin. So I'm explaining here that right now we're in a Dynamesh state. And Dynamesh, as I was explaining in the previous video, is a great process, but not many technologies, not many slices are going to be able to handle that or deal with the having to fix such a heavy mesh. So what you have to go do is pretty much go into Zbrush, and Zbrush have their own features under Decimation Master. And with Decimation Master, it triangulates your mesh, so it enables you to pretty much keep your details but minimizing your file size. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm pre-processing it, and then pretty much disseminating. There you can see it triangulated. I'm going back and forwards, hitting back and forwards to see. You can see the difference. So it's definitely reduced the file size of this mesh. And then I like to go in and close holes, and then also use Zbrush's check mesh integrity, and then it does its own internal fix. I go from here and I export it, naming it properly so I can find it. After the exporting, I then move it into a program called Meshmixer. So as I was explaining, Meshmixer is a Autodesk software. The cool thing about it, and the only Autodesk software that you're probably going to find that is free. So please take advantage of it if you're interested in 3D printing. Get the software before they decide to charge for it. So what's so cool about Meshmixer? It allows you to pretty much repair, position, and get your mesh ready, and it has its own internal checks. So I move everything in position, and I run the inspector. Okay, and I apply it, and as you can see, the nose vanishes, and the G vanishes. So this is great for YouTube, not good for me trying to 3D print. Like, where's the issues? So ultimately, there are issues in this, and no matter how many times in different ways I go about doing it, this nose keeps vanishing. So here's a problem-solving technique, and it's great to learn because this happens. And so I pretty much go back into ZBrush and I figure out what is going on. I try a few different techniques and a few different scenarios on why it's doing this. And this is one of my recommendations, is that you have 3 different programs, have a look at your mesh and try to fix the issues. Don't just rely on one particular software to have to fix the issues of the mesh, because one will pick up something the other one won't. And it's just great to clean it up from this point to the next software, bringing it back to this one if necessary, taking it back in, and then finalizing it in the Slicer program, which has its own repair algorithms inside of it. So I've taken it back into ZBrush, and I'm going through all this process. In the end, I realize the issues with the G, the A, and the nose is that during my quick sculpt, and this is a quick sculpt, is that the nose was not, it was just touching, and that in itself is a big issue. So it has nowhere to hang, nothing to grow from, as it's growing out of the vat in the 3D print, and it's just sitting in the air. And that goes for the G and the A. And it's a very quick fix to deal with that. Uh, but until you get in there and you actually have a look at it closer, at it closely, like super close, and then you can't tell why those issues are happening. But usually that's what it's picking up. So either there's a hole in the mesh, or a part isn't joined, or the part is too thin. So a good technique I like to use is the inflation brush, and I kind of inflate, those areas that are kind of thin. I'll add insert, primitive to join on the nose. So I've gone in there, I've added kind of a round insert brush, and it practically then has joined the nose. So you can see I've taken it back into Meshmixer. I've still got this problem. I discovered probably about the third time. I really went in there and had a good look. And I even tried Lychee Slicer and to see if they can if it could fix the issue that was there. So I've kind of given you a flash forward into the future of how and about repairing and fixing it, and then having it watertight to say ready for 3D printing. So here we are in Lychee Slicer, and if you're going to get into resin 3D printing, I would recommend Lychee over Chitu Box. It's just a great slicer. Um, take the time to learn it properly and all the aspects, and I'll run over with some of that stuff after we've done the repair work on this. So as you can see on the right hand side in the object editor, they have their own system there, which is an external system. You do need an Autodesk account for that to work, but it's free as well, so you don't need to pay for anything. The Lychee Slicer is also free. There is a paid version of it, but the paid version is super cheap. It's ridiculously cheap. It's like $2.99 a month. That's $2.99 a month. That's probably the cheapest software I've ever seen. So, and for its capabilities and powerhouse, I definitely recommend it. So so I'm jumping backwards and forwards between these three softwares trying to figure out these problems. Once I figured out this problem in Zbrush, it was pretty easy to fix, really. Overall, the whole process was about 30 minutes, just trying to problem solve and find the problem for me to be able to 3D print it. So it's a good way to learn from watching other people and seeing how they go about repairing it. And for me, I find this is kind of the best way to go from one to the other, back to another, and then eventually the algorithms pick up anything that one could not find. So I pretty much now have repaired, and it is, as you can see on the right hand side, no topology issues, and no the mesh is fully manifold, so it is ready to print. There are no issues with this mesh, and that's great news. So 30 minutes of cleaning up and making sure that it's good to print. I can use this mesh over and over again to print over and over again. So I'm in Lychee Slicer now, and it's the only software I need to be in, and it's where I can explain everything from here. And I'm positioning the models on the bed, and this is going to be a test print, right? My conception is not to have a finalized print and everything is perfect. I know that's not going to happen. I know that might be some issues. This is kind of a complicated print with a lot of details and stuff in it. I got to find the best positions and the best support structures. So either way, it's always best to lift your print off the bed slightly, tilt it to the back. The reason for this is that you don't want your model flat, and that for all the weight and suction to be built up on one area. So you got a big area there, and a lot of weight's going to be building up, right? And over time, it gives it the capabilities of just lifting off the plate. That's one reason. Another reason is just, people find it hard to get it off the plate, but, if you have a flexi plate, that's not a big issue. So I'm not going to get into that aspect and explain the flexi plate. I'll explain that kind of stuff in another video. So right now I've used this awesome feature in Lychee Slicer, which is island detector. It's on the right there. You see it on the bottom. It does an automatic search, finds your islands, and you can add the supports. I like to do a combination of both. Is use their automatic supports, and then go through and change them up, make larger ones, change to make smaller one. Light mini supports. So you got light, mini, and heavy supports. So on the bigger one, I've gone around, I've changed some of the medium supports. That's what I had it set at when I did the automatic, and I've gone around and put some heavier supports on those. On the smaller one, the mediums were more than enough. In fact, some of them needed to be changed to a light support because it's such a small aspect. So I am concerned about the G, and on the other lettering, the amount of thick supports there are. And I was right to be concerned because after the print has come out, the words have come out pretty good, understandable on some of them, but I think I can do a lot better to manually put in some of those supports, and I will be doing that to finalize this coming out of the printer aspect. So once you go through and there's no islands left that the computer has detected, that doesn't mean it's over. A lot of this yellowing area is pointing out that it's growing, but there's a risk here. So what I like to do is go in and usually use light supports and just give it a little extra support back to its main. I don't like to try and connect heavy supports in these areas where there isn't any islands specifically, but I do want to give it that support. It's not only, so you think of an island, right? When an island starts to grow, like the first very dot, if it doesn't have a support, the resin has nothing to stick to. It literally is in the middle of the air, and that's when you get print fails. That island, that the first very island, needs to be supported. And as it works its way up, if the surface isn't going straight up off that support, if it's even going curvature, it's okay, unless the curvature really starts to overhang. And then those overhangs become an island itself. And then if there's nothing to support it, that's when you get that's when you get failures in your print. So it's very important that every island that just floats in the air has its own support structure, and you need to go do that. So I've now set up all the supports on this, and I'm happy with it. I know that I can do some cleanup on the automatic supports that were created. I think there's probably too many on the back of the sign of the Wall Street, but I just want to test this out. I want to bring it out and see how it goes. So I'm still going to do, because in 3D printing it pretty much will shoots UV light up, and it's going to take the same amount of time if I did 3 each on each side than it would to just print the two large and small ones. So I just did 3 of the small ones and 2 of the big ones, and there's a duplication process in Lychee Slicer that allows you to have all the support still attached to the duplicated model, which is so cool and super easy. Here you can see I'm adding a raft, and a raft just helps give more suction to that plate, so you'll get less abilities for it to pull off, and more successful prints practically. So I literally set this at like 0.01. I'm checking my settings here. I have an exposure time of 55, lift off at 8, and lifting speed at 40. And normal layers, so that was burnout layers. Normal layers, I have a layer thickness of 30, and 40 is the lift off speed as well. So that's important, not to cause too much suction and too much pull off. It slows your print down, but usually you get more successful print. Now here it is. It came out, and yes, I had some issues, but I had 2 successful prints. They need to be cleaned up a little bit, as you can see, but overall I was pretty happy with the first test print and those 2 that came out of it. Once I sand it up and clean it up, I think this would be literally ready for casting. So this is a resin wax. So it's a castable wax resin, from Frozen, and I've had a lot of issues with this. And when I have a look online, a lot of people have a lot of issues with wax resin because even though you can print it out in any other, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the exact same file in just a normal resin and see how that comes out, and I will guarantee that I will not get the same failures as I did on the other one. So literally, to have this one and the other one successfully print with the exact same you know supports, the exact same everything that all of them had, but those two are successful and the others weren't, shows me there's something wrong with this particular resin. And I know that because I was printing something else before, and I had issues with it. So, and then I printed that exact same thing in another resin a few times, and it came out absolutely perfect. So, this wax resin is a bit tricky on the settings and getting it right. So, something I need to work on. I'm going to try a few different versions, versions of the wax resin. So, pardon for the blurriness. I just wanted to show something quickly here, just on added extra, is that practically if you do have an issue with one of your prints and you got some spare parts or something like that, or you need to fix it, something breaks off, it's very easy to do. It's a little tip at the end here. I just pretty much, I'm going to replace this sign because it didn't turn out, even though the rest of the print was perfect. There was some issues with that sign there, but this sign on this other print was perfect, but the head wasn't on this one. So I've taken this Alright, and I'm literally going to just dip it in the resin again, join it, and then use a UV light, and then it pretty much does what a 3D printer does. So I just rejoined it, and that's how easy it is actually to fix your models, repair it, and so forth. You can actually do like a little slurry and fix up the little holes and any imperfections in it later on, just by doing this method, and I find that pretty cool. Yeah, so I thought I'd just share that at the end. So that's pretty much a wrap for this video, stage 2. I'm going to move on to some other projects for the YouTube channel. Later on, when this is poured into silver, I'm going to make a video about that as well. So at this stage, yeah, this is it. I hope you enjoyed it and you got some useful information from it. If you did, please hit the subscribe button. It's going to help me grow, not only on YouTube but professionally as well, and hopefully you're enjoying some aspects of what I've got to present. Yeah, so subscribe, hit the like button, and I will catch you in the next video. So thank you very much for watching. See you then.